Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development, Dr. Washington Bijo, our representative of the Minister of Information, Communication Technology, Postal and Courier Services, Mrs. Beulah Chirume, our Chairman of the Zimbabwe Open University Council, Mr. Chris Samkange, the ACDE President, Prof. Mwete, and all ACDE board members. I'm sure Prof. Mwete will ask you to rise at the appropriate time. I'm too small to do that. UNESCO representatives here present, Mr. Abel Kane and Professor Fred Mulder. The ICDE Secretary General, Professor Gad Tilstad. All government officials here present. Vice Chancellors of universities here present or their representatives. Our most valued sponsors, whom I'm sure you can see that their banners up and some are outside and all of them are on the back of our programs. My dear conference delegates, the most important people on this list as far as I'm concerned, sorry to stop one. Dear conference delegates and members of the media, the Zimbabwe Open University staff and students, ladies and gentlemen. It certainly is a privilege and an honor for me to welcome you to this very important event for us is at the African Council for Distance Education. At the African Council for Distance Education, we hold these conferences and general meetings once in every 3 years. And each time, all the countries bid to host because it's a prestigious event. But guess what? For this year, the African Council for Distance Education trusted Zimbabwe to host. I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for that vote of confidence in us. And indeed, as I open the conference, I'm saying, welcome, enjoy it. We've put everything in place for you to be able to enjoy and learn and develop and get better and appreciate more our open and distance learning industry, if I may put it that way. It is a calling in its own right. It is an industry in its own right. And unless we know and understand and appreciate and practice it with the quality that we know we already have, open and distance learning cannot get very far. But because we are here gathered to do that, and we are here gathered to make sure that we integrate in line with our theme. When we are talking of integrating our continent through open and distance learning, we are going to be a very successful association. Permanent Secretary said, our theme, as you've heard, is continental integration through open and distance learning. And we have 6 sub-themes: the philosophical context of open and distance learning. What is the philosophical basis for this whole thing? We'll be having discussions on that. The rationale for open and distance learning and for open access and empowerment. What is the rationale of going that route of learning instead of going the conventional, or what Professor Adu refers to call the orthodox? Thirdly, we are looking at the inclusive nature and the inclusive ODL philosophy vis-a-vis elitism or elitist philosophies in higher education. Very interesting subject. Higher education in the socio-economic context. What is the role of ODL in that context? Where do we fit? I'm sure we have a very big place in the socio-economic context. ODL, the virtual empowerment model in higher education. I'm sure everybody around in the room will certainly agree with me that you can't empower people more than getting them to be lifelong learners. That's what ODL does, doesn't it? You learn and learn until you can learn no more. There's no limit to time, to age. It's always to age, to age, to everything. And therefore, we are there to do that. And that's something I'm sure will be very interesting. The sub-theme of quality assurance across ODL program. What is the quality? We always have issues of, with all this quantity, how do you say ensure quality? And we've actually taught the world that you can still achieve quality with quantity. And ODL has done that. Have you not? Have we not done it? See? ODL does it, ODL delivers, and in fact, the African Council for Distance Education has since put together a quality assurance toolkit which is being used to ensure that we have a standardized way of ensuring quality in open and distance learning right across the continent. So if anybody in any state in the African continent talks about quality with respect to open and distance learning, there is a quality assurance toolkit that has been put together by the Council which specializes in open and distance learning, and that then becomes the guiding torch, and all institutions will get trained accordingly to use that. That is a very organized ACDE, is it not? We are making sure that we maintain our quality in spite of our quantities, and at the end of it, we remain the ACDE that we are. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I also want to mention that right before you, Permanent Secretary said, we have virtually all the countries represented in the continent. I could just name a few. Kenya is here, right? Tanzania is here.
Yes.
Mozambique is here. Yes. Sudan is here. Nigeria is here.
Yes.
No, listen to me. You see, this is why I didn't ask people to stand. Because it would have taken very long. By the time they stand and sit down. So that's why I'm asking them to just say yes, yes. South Africa is here. Yes. South Africa? Yes. Oh, okay. Zimbabwe is here. Yes. Zambia is here. Yes. Here we go. Botswana is here. Yes. Indeed. Swaziland is here. Indeed. And guess what, Permanent Secretary? It's not just Africa. Canada is here.
Yeah.
The Netherlands is here. Well. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just so elated as the hosting institution that you have actually graced us with your presence, left everything that you needed to do to come here and spend these 2 days deliberating on how best we could integrate as a continent using open and distance learning, which is our forte, which is our industry. And I know we're going to enjoy it. I don't even have to waste time wishing you to do it. I know you will. I know you're going to enjoy it. I know you're going to put your best into it. And it's not just us as the members of ACDE who are looking forward to this great event. We also have a lot of other associations and groupings that wish us well. And it will be at this moment that I will be calling in people to read our goodwill messages. And those goodwill messages are coming from various associations. We have the International Council for Distance Education. The International Council for Distance Education is like all the continental councils, ACDE included, put together. They use a goodwill message for us from there. We have the Southern African Regional Universities Association. We have the Commonwealth of Learning sending us a goodwill message. The Zimbabwe University Vice Chancellors Association has a goodwill message for us. We have the Shanghai Open University with a goodwill message for us. I think we'll start with the International Council for Distance Education. God, please.
Thank you, Professor Kurashe, and thank you to Zimbabwe Open University, and thank you to ACDE. ACDE is a valued member of ICDE, and I bring my warm greetings from Professor Tia Belabati, the president of ICDE, that unfortunately could not be with us, but I will carry her voice. And not are you an important partner as a part of the international collaboration, but Africa in particular is very important for ICDE, and ICDE Executive Committee has decided that the next World Conference will take place for the first time at the African continent, hosted by UNISA. You know, I think you are 10 years old, right? So we celebrate an anniversary. You have 10, ACDE had 75. But you are developing much faster than ACDE, I should say. Anyway, I have brought to you a gift, a compendium of papers published to celebrate the 75th anniversary of ACDE, which I will hand over to the President of ACDE. Vice Chancellor of Zimbabwe. So we can share that celebration. ACDE has a symbolic project bringing educational resources to Africa, BAFTA. The project wished to demonstrate the opportunities and potential of open education resources and distance education to contribute to improving quality and teaching, outstanding teaching in Africa. And it has already been tested out in a small MOOC with 723 participants, and it is the two-member institution ACDE and the Open University of Catalonia that is developing that project. Why I'm mentioning this in this greetings to ACDE is to have that project into real life by universities to offer jointly quality teachers training in open and distance education. I see as a joint task and a joint challenge for ACDE and ACDE in the years to come. So thank you very much and congratulations with this wonderful conference.
Can we have the whole video? The whole video ready?
Guests of honor, ladies and gentlemen, I'll read goodwill messages from other places. The first one I'll read is from the Shanghai Open University, but I shall not read it in Chinese. This is a congratulatory message for the 4th African Council for Distance Education Conference and General Assembly coming from Shanghai Open University. It is addressed to the President of the Council for Distance Education, Professor Tole Glete. He says, "It is my great pleasure to convey a congratulatory message on the occasion of the 4th African Council for Distance Education Conference and the General Assembly hosted by the Zimbabwe Open University. In its 10 years of establishment since 2004, ACDE has proven itself to be one of the leading continental educational organizations in the field of ODL. It plays a vital role in promoting research, policy and quality in open and distance learning to increase access to education and training in Africa, as well as facilitating close collaboration among the member institutions and counterparts in the continent and the rest of the world. I'm confident the ACDE and its member institutions will continue empowering more people of national, regional, international community through ODL. The cordial friendship and cooperation between ACDE and Shanghai Open University has been strengthened for quite some time. It makes us realize that we both have much to learn from each other. Shanghai Open University is honored to maintain a good relationship with the ACDE and its member institutions and further continue the cooperation and exchange between two sides. On behalf of Shanghai Open University, I'd like to take this opportunity to convey my heartfelt congratulations to ACDE for its achievements of the decade. I wish the conference a most successful and rewarding one and look forward to continuing collaboration with ACDE. Yours sincerely, Professor Zhang Hong, President of the Shanghai Open University. Ladies and gentlemen, I go on to read the goodwill message from Sarua, the Southern African Regional University Association. It says, it reads to the gathering. Sarua, the Southern African Regional University Association, regards regional integration as an important strategy for Africa's development agenda. The role of decent education is viewed as a vital component, and herein lies the challenge for leaders and stakeholders in decent education. How to ensure quality, relevance, and access via a robust bandwidth platform to meet the aspirations of African youth and working adults need to be addressed. Our discussions too often concentrate on the potential of decent education. It behooves all of us to secure dynamic and focused partnerships between decent education and other higher educational institutions, as well as with other governments, funders, and constituencies to fulfill our mission. I am confident that we will emerge out of this conference with some groundbreaking perspectives for our continent. Thank you. The president of the Sarua is the Vice Chancellor of Zimbabwe University, Professor Prudence. The third goodwill message I'm reading comes from the Zimbabwe University's Vice Chancellors Association, and this is a message that has been sent by the chairperson, the vice chairperson, Professor Mwenje. It reads, Dear Professor Kurasha, we congratulate you for hosting the 4th ACDE conference and lifting up the flag high. Keep it up, my sister. May you please announce our congratulations to Professor Hopsadza for being inducted into the Women's Heritage Society Hall of Fame. Do this on behalf of Zufka, putting on my hat as Vice Chair. Professor Hopsadza is the founder and Vice Chancellor of Women's University in Africa. She serves on many local and international boards. Professor Sadza was inducted into the Women's Heritage Society Hall of Fame on the 19th of May 2014, together with Honorable Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade T.J.R. Mujuru. The Women's Heritage Society Hall of Fame is the hallmark and the highest symbolic preservation and historical recognition and honor bestowed upon any woman in the world who has lived a life that inspires another life, a life worth celebrating, a life worth emulating. And this is an inspiration to humanity and a legacy worth preserving for generations present and future. Professor Hopsadza is such a woman who has given hope to as many as her name says. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to congratulate this remarkable lady for this great achievement. I thank you, Professor Eddie Mwenje, the Vice Chairman of ZUFCA. Professor Hopsadza is the chairperson of ZUFCA. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you very much, Professor Kawanda and Professor Kurasha. Colleagues, I'm informed the video message from call has some technical difficulties. I'm recommending that when we come back from tea break, it will be the first to be shown. So, colleagues, technical people, make sure it works before that break ends. Honorable Chief Guest, it's now my pleasure to give my welcoming remarks before I request you to come and give the opening speech. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science, Technology, Department, Development, Dr. T. Diesel, the representative of the Minister of Information, Communication Technology, Post and Courier Services, Mrs. Chirume, the Chair of the Zimbabwe Open University Council, Mr. C. Sankange, the Vice Chancellor, Zimbabwe Open University and Chair Sarua, Professor Kurasha, the UNESCO representative, Mr. Abel Kane and Professor Fred Mulder, the ACDE Secretary General, Mr. Gad Chief of Staff, government officials here present, Vice Chancellors of universities here present, and other members from different universities, most valued sponsors, conference delegates, members of the media, Zimbabwe Open University staff and students, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Chief Guest, on behalf of the African Council for Distance Education, and on my own behalf, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to the 4th ACDE Conference in General Assembly. This conference being held at this World Seventh Wonder in the amazing Victoria Falls signifies the immense growth of ACDE as an African-wide organization, and indeed signifies the growth of the open and distance learning mode of delivery in Africa and at global level. I am aware that the success of this event depends on the many people who have worked and are still working tirelessly in planning and organizing the conference. Ladies and gentlemen, special thanks should go to the local organizing committee members who are working under the overall coordination of Professor B. Chisaka. And with this local organizing committee, always the host Vice Chancellor, who is charged by the Executive Board of ACDE to host this event, is always giving the overall guidance. And I can attest to this because a few days ago, while I was on my way to Big Falls, I sent an email very early in the morning, about 2 or 3 a.m., thinking maybe I was the only one who was awake. Within 5 minutes, the VC zone replied to my email, and then subsequently, to show how global the deal is, the president called, Professor Shakana also responded, and subsequently several other people responded from all corners of the world to show how ODL systems work in general terms. So that proved that although she's not a member of the organizing committee, at the end of the day, she's the one who is finally responsible for whatever is done. So the activities that are taken by ACDE in the previous years were not in vain, and they were in fact regarded to have been like water, which has been poured on the seeds, which we are today witnessing to be growing into something we had hardly thought they would be, as attested by Mr. Gad. And we are honored to be gathered here under one roof as academics, researchers, policymakers, business people, development advocates, and staff and students from over the different countries as mentioned by the VCZO. Ladies and gentlemen, your presence here is a clear vote of confidence in the ACDE Conference in General Assembly, which started way back in 2005. It was just a year after establishment of ACDE, with our first conference in UNISA as a time seat. So from Egerton in 2004 and now 10 years later in Victoria Falls, ladies and gentlemen, ACDE has grown to become a notable organ at an African level. And let me share with you the fact that right now ACDE He has an observer status in the AUC, and therefore when the ministers of education meet as COMEDA, we represent ACDE as observers in that meeting to see how closely we are working with AUC and the AU. So allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to applaud all of you who are here present for gracing this occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's conference theme runs under the theme Continental Integration through Open and Distance Learning in Africa. Let me finish the new plate. So this year's conference runs under the theme Continental Integration through Open and Distance Learning in Africa. Who knows, the next time in place of Africa, maybe we will be talking about the whole world. And I believe that success is built through integration of different stakeholders' efforts, through collaboration and partnership. Today, success is being consolidated through the integration of individuals and institutions from all over Africa and beyond Africa, institutions who have seen and nurtured open and distance learning. There is no doubt that this conference, through its debates, is going to bear fruits in form of socio-economic development for our nations. Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind the delegates that the intention of this conference is to highlight how open and distance learning can spearhead continental integration and partnership. And I believe that